For work and material resources, Project uses them to calculate project costs. The labor cost for an assignment is the assigned work resources cost rate multiplied by the amount of time assigned. For material resources, the cost is the rate multiplied by the quantity assigned. So let's go to the resource sheet. On the View tab, click Resource Sheet. Now you can see that the Office Manager doesn't have a standard rate assigned, so we'll have to add one. Just click the standard rate cell, and if the Office Manager is $60 an hour, you can type 60 and press Enter. You can see that Project automatically adds the slash and the hour. But you can actually assign resources by other time periods. Let's say the webmaster is a contractor, and you actually pay her $1,000 a month to maintain the website. So in the standard rate cell, type 1,000, the slash, and then MON for month, and press Enter. And from now on, Project will use $1,000 a month to calculate how much the webmaster costs. For a material resource, like the cider down at the end, the standard rate is the cost per unit. So in this case, it's $55. The unit is in the material label field, and that's case. Well, let's see how this works. Go to the Task tab and click the Gantt chart button. I'm also going to display the Details pane, so I turn on the Details checkbox. I'm going to right-click this and choose Resources and Successors so we can see assignments, and scroll down to the bottom of the schedule and choose the Open House task. Here you see that the project manager is assigned to the open house for 8 hours. In addition, the cider is also assigned to the open house, and in this case it's 5 cases. Let's say I want to make that 4 cases. In the work cell, type 4, and then when I click OK, just click Continue and OK. And now you can see that Project fills in the label, so the quantity changes, but Project takes the label from the resource sheet and fills this in. Let's look at how the costs work. So I right-click and choose Cost. Well, the project manager is assigned for 8 hours and costs $80 an hour, so the cost is $640. The cider costs $55 a case, and there are 4 cases assigned to this task, so the cost is $220. Let's go back to the resource sheet and take a look at some of the other cost fields. So first I'll turn off the Details pane and go back to the resource sheet. You can see that the next column after standard rate is the overtime rate. Overtime rate only applies to work resources because you assign them by time. And in fact, the only time you have to fill in the overtime rate is if somebody is paid extra when they work overtime hours. So for example, if somebody's paid $80 an hour, and it doesn't matter how many hours they work in a week, then the standard rate is enough because Project will multiply the standard rate by every single.
Okay.
single hour you assign, and you're all set. But if that resource charges extra for overtime, you'll have to designate overtime hours, and then Project will multiply those hours by the overtime rate. The next field is cost per use. Now that's something that occurs once every time you assign a resource to a task. So for example, with the dumpster, there's a $450 charge every time you bring the dumpster on site. Or maybe with the cider for the open house, there's a $150 setup charge for setting up the bar. So you type $150 in the cost per use cell. That way, when you assign cider to a task, in addition to the standard rate times the quantity of cases, you'll also have a $150 charge for the setup. The final cost field is accrue at. You can see that Project fills in prorated, and that means that the cost is spread over the duration of the task. But in some cases, you might want to have it at the beginning or the end. So for example, with airfare, you pay for that up front, so you can click the down arrow and choose Start. Or maybe for the webmaster is a contractor, so you pay the webmaster at the end. Click the down arrow in that cell and choose End. By filling in resource cost fields, you tell Project how much work and material resources cost. That way, the program can calculate costs when you assign these types of resources to tasks. The cost resource type is perfect for expenses that aren't based on time or quantity, like airfare, fees, or tuition. Unlike work and material resources, you assign values when you assign cost resources to tasks. That way, the cost for each assignment can differ, like different airfares for each trip. And you can track the total amount for each cost category separately. Cost resources are the easiest ones to create. So let's go to the resource sheet. On the View tab, click Resource Sheet. Then, in the first blank resource name cell, type the name of the cost resource. In this case, permits. Then when I click the Type cell, Project fills in work, but I can just click the down arrow and then choose Cost. You can see the only other two fields that are important are Initials and Accrue at. I'll type the name Permit in the Initials field, and prorated is fine, so we're already done. That's all you have to fill in. With cost resources, you tell Project how much they cost when you assign them to tasks. So let's see how that works. On the Task tab, click the Gantt chart button. I'm also going to display the Details pane with the task form. So on the View tab, turn on the Details checkbox, and the task form appears. Well, now we'll assign some cost to cost resources on a couple of tasks. First, there's the Visit Oakland Site task. So this task already has airfare and lodging assigned. Well, I need to assign cost, so I right-click the task form and choose Cost, and now I can see the cost field. So I select the cost cell for airfare and type in the cost of that airfare. Then select the cost cell for lodging and type in the value for lodging, and click OK. And you can see that those costs are now assigned. Well, now I'm going to select the Visit Seattle site. On this task, I have to assign the cost resources. So I click the first resource name cell, click the down arrow, and choose airfare. Click the next cell, click the down arrow, and choose lodging. It turns out I have to click OK to save that first before I can add the costs. So now that they're assigned, I'll put in the costs. $350 for cost for airfare, $360 for lodging, and click OK. And now those costs are assigned. I'm going to close the Details pane and go to the Resource Usage view. And here you can see for the lodging cost resource, you can see the two individual assignments with the different values for each one. But you can also see in the lodging summary row that there's the total cost for the project for lodging, $550. And similarly for airfare, you can see the two individual assignments and what they cost. But in the summary row, you can see that this project has $500 in airfare. Cost resources are a great way to track expenses that aren't time or material related. Just remember, you assign the cost for a cost resource when you assign the resource to a task. A task's duration, work,